Out here, I don't know what's going on in the prisons in Atlanta, but out here in Arizona and in New Mexico and in Texas and in California, we have a brutal prison gang called the Mexican Mafia.
Oh,
this
please.
criminal defendant was a member of that prison gang, and their efforts are to move information from inside the prison outside of the streets in order to get orders to the street gang.
Just hold on a minute.
The weakness for them to do it is to get it through the court system.
Let me ask you a simple question. Was that paper going to blow up?
The potential of the message in that paper out to the streets may have caused narcotics trafficking, intimidation of witnesses,
Let me
killing of witnesses.
Good
but
answer.
it's not the modus operandi of the Mexican Mafia to blow things up. They usually use a 9mm and they cap their opponents in the head.
Fine. Yeah, they're all really bad, and this is like a Starsky and Hutch episode. Why did he take it upon himself, as if he were judge and jury in that moment, to execute the law? Something our Constitution says he's not allowed to do. Let's be fair about this, please.
Well, the Constitution also says that if you're going to put my client in jail, you have to give him due process of law. He has to have access to the evidence what will prove his good faith basis for taking the steps he did. Now, you ask a very legitimate question.
Could there have been?
He didn't ask him to apologize. He ordered him to apologize. And as you well know, Rick, in this country, no one who's in the government can order another free citizen to say something.
Do you think a police officer has the right to go into someone's property and just take it without asking for a warrant?
No, I don't. But do you think that a judge has the authority, not the right, the authority to order a citizen to make a public speech at a press conference? No, he does not. 1776, if everybody thought that the deprivation of the right to free speech was a slap on the wrist, we wouldn't even have a country to this day.
What are you talking about free speech? What does free speech have to do with it? He went and invaded a file of another attorney.
Take a deep breath and I'll explain it.
Mr. Liddy, excuse me. Let me speak. I'll let you speak.
No, hold on a second.
He went through a file, picked it up, and went through the file of another attorney and took out a piece of paper. If he was so concerned that there was a problem and there was a security breach, his first obligation is to the public. Get everybody out of that courtroom, get the courtroom safe, and then discuss it with the judge. Not take it upon himself, get a piece of paper and copy it. That just shows evidence that he wasn't so concerned, because had there been a true concern, as there has been in Miami and the Southern District of Florida, they clear the courtroom for the safety of everybody in that courtroom, including the judge, including the state attorney, and including the defense attorneys. And that's where Mr. Stoddard and Sheriff Arpaio have a problem.
He was ordered by the judge to hold a press conference and to publicly apologize. In order to do that truthfully, he has to feel remorse. When the people know exactly what was going on in that courtroom, they'll understand why he took the actions he did. Maybe he should have taken different actions, but for the actions he took in that split decision, that split second, he does not have remorse. So it's never in the public interest to order somebody to lie. Nobody, not a judge, not a sheriff, not a president, can order any free citizen what to say.
Judges do it every single day in this courtroom. They order people to do things that they don't necessarily want to do. They order people to write apologies. They order them to do community service. They order all the time to do things they don't want to do. And then that person has a choice. Disobey the court order, be found in contempt, or whatever the consequence may be. In this case, he went to jail for 10 days.
I'll tell you where I was disappointed is when you started out with this whole thing about the Mexican Mafia and your prisons and this and that. I got to tell you, you really should rethink that strategy, sir.
It's because not a strategy. These are the facts.
I come from Miami, sir. Right. We've seen Gambinos. We've seen drug dealers. We've seen Al-Qaeda. We've seen the worst scum in the world come through our prison system, not to mention the Metropolitan Court in New York City and other places. To sit here and tell us that somehow in Phoenix, Arizona, you got the baddest of the bad is laughable.
No, you're making that up. I didn't say that.
All right, correct me then. What were you trying to say with the fact that maybe in Atlanta we don't have this, but over there in Maricopa you got some real bad guys?
What I said was I don't know what you got going on in Atlanta, but I know in Maricopa County and in California and Texas we have the Mexican Mafia, and part of their modus operandi is to try to get orders out to street gangs. The Mexican Mafia is a prison gang. Orders out to street gangs, and they do it through abuse of the pro per status, they do it through abuse of attorneys, and they do it through abuse of attorney-client mails.
Sylvia, finish us up here if you possibly would.
The most important thing to remember is exactly what Stoddard did. He went in, invaded attorney-client privilege, stole documents from a file, and didn't follow the procedures that he should have followed in order to protect the safety of a courtroom. He was held in contempt. He chose not to follow a judge's lawful order, and thus was put in jail for 10 days.
So what happens next? January 5th, I think there's going to be a hearing on this. Is that right?
That's
right.
Am I correct? That's correct, Rick. We'll be before the Court of Appeals on January 5th, and we'll look forward to speaking to all of you again right after that.